All hail Liberia, hail, all hail, Liberia, hail. This glorious land of liberty shall long be ours. Though new her name, great be her fame, and mighty be her power. Though new her name, great be her fame, and mighty be her power. And mighty be her power, and mighty be her power. 1, 2, 3, 4, in joy and gladness, with hearts united, we'll shout the freedom of our race united. Long live Liberia, happy land, this home of glory, liberty of God's command. This home of glory, liberty of God's command. This home of glory, liberty of God's command. This home of all hail Liberia, hail, all hail, Liberia, hail. This glorious land.
Beats by SV.com. Beats by SV.com. By SV.com. Beats by SV.com. By SV.com. Beats by SV.com. My friends, don't give up. No matter your situation, my people, don't give up. No matter your circumstances, my sister, don't give up.
contributing to the growth of my country, Liberia. Prevention is better than cure. Let's prevent ourselves to save our family. Prevention is better than cure. Let's prevent ourselves to save our nation. Coronavirus is so bad. It's a deadly disease. It kills very fast. It is so bad. Not something to joke with. Let's prevent ourselves from this deadly virus. Some years back, we suffered for civil war. We suffered for Ebola. That took away many lives. This time around, it's coronavirus. Coronavirus is so terrible. Prevention is better than cure. Let's prevent ourselves to save our family. Prevention is better than cure.
I'm Alphonso Zean Soe of the Liberia Public Radio and LPRO TV to welcome in to our viewers and listeners across the globe. Thank you for being part of this program here. That's a contribution from Little Jesio is in Central Liberia, Bangabong County, respectively. Little Jesio, she has her own foundation contributing to the goodness of Liberia, and that's all. She got a lot of good songs. She has her own foundation. Very young girl, being a year plus now. We hosted her on this network here. She's based in Banga. I got this video yesterday from her mostly mother, someone that has been providing care. Amanda Colley is based in the city of Banga, Liberia. Central Liberia. We want to welcome our own man, Bertin Tinota is in Central Liberia. Banga is our national correspondent. Well, this is a Freedom One special edition that is unfolding. You're going to see footage that we received from the office of Excellency Chief Dr. Joel Howard Taylor. As the Vice President of the Republic of Liberia is adding her voice to the Ebola as well. We got this video from the Chief Media Officer credited to the office of the Vice President Rose Kiel. We're going to give you that also that video here. But today we're going to be looking at a wide range of issues, especially the ongoing confirmation process in Liberia. How is it being like? Well, we're going to be talking with someone with the expertise. Mr. Alphonso Nyenuh is a fervent advocate with the Carlet and Justice Peace Commissions in Liberia. He's currently based in the USA. We're going to be getting his expertise. Are we being judgmental here, ignoring some other basic rule in the advocacy? We're going to be getting his view, his analysis as well. And of course, we're going to pivot to the politics side where we're going to be getting his opinions. And as usual, we will also bring in our audience for their views. But remember, whatever we express on this network is not a view of the management and staff of the Liberia Public Radio. The entire drama is being surrounded by the chairpersons of the designated by President George Manont. We CDC-led government, Councillor Odubu Said. Very difficult name. But I've been trying to figure out there are a lot of information coming, but we yet to see it. But it is quite interesting to see what is unfolding in Liberia. What I consider someone as the male figure in this confirmation hearing yesterday, veteran Councillor Vanny Sherman. It was a very good questions that he asked. I believe the process is ongoing where stakeholders are also involved. And we as ordinary citizens, we must involve because the history of our country, when it comes to election, it cannot be overemphasized. But there are some legitimate questions. LPR is also getting unconfirmed report. It appears we will be getting to the bottom line of that one of the commissioners perhaps might have most likely committed perjury because he's from Sano County. Why would he say he's from Grand Cayman County or Nabomi County? Science. We are getting little tips of that. These and many more going to be right here, right now. And of course, Liberia Public Radio in collaboration with the African Star newspaper will put herself on the record, keeping you informed of what is happening and taking the authentic and genuine decision as it relates to the country called Republic of Liberia. The history of Nigeria. Nigeria is a country with more than 250 tribes, and out of that, 3 are prominently known. We're going to give you the sightings that the Hausa, the Igbo, and the Hausa, the Igbo, and the Yoruba. They are the 3 well-known tribes in Liberia and in Nigeria. And all of those people been doing our own search and talk to folks, friends, and also prominent in Nigeria. There are some unique things about those people. And we have been told that the commissioner chairperson designate is from the he's from the Igbo tribe. Is from the Igbo tribe. But Mr. Alphonso Nyenuh will be joining us here very shortly. But I will going to get to you the commentary from the Liberia Public Radio and LPR TV and that of the African Star newspaper. Relatively, these 2 networks, this network and that of African Star, has been sending an alarm way ahead before this confirmation process started, and even before the nominee names were put forward. The African Star broke the news potentially that the government of Liberia of Dr. George Weah was to be nominating this gentleman in questions that have raised so many eyebrows. And there are so many questions yet to be answered. Who all were involved into this process? I'm wondering whether the legal office or the legal counsel to the President of the Republic of Liberia, they were all involved in the process and they did their own due diligence. Mr. Alphonso Nyenuh is a former JPC commissioner, member. He formerly worked with the JPC. He's currently in the USA. We're going to be talking all of that. But let us just bring you this quick commentary here from the African Star newspaper and that of the Liberia Public Radio. And we will be right back. Stay tuned. I will be right back.
African Star and Liberia Public Radio bring you this news commentary entitled, Liberia's Attempt at Good Governance Can and Must Do Better. Liberia's democracy and future of good governance will be determined largely by the process and type of leadership, qualifications, and political leanings of commissioners of the National Elections Commission, the NEC, in crucial upcoming midterm, general, and presidential elections. Already, a real bone of contention of the opposition coalition bloc is the outdated and unsanitized voters' data which has been utilized by the NEC and which contributes to an unfair and uneven playing field, which disadvantages and disenfranchises the opposition and the will of hundreds of thousands of eligible Liberian voters. Granted that each eligible Liberian must exercise their civic duty of voting for elected officials, Liberians must, however, be reasonably assured that their votes will count towards the general will of the electorate as to who will represent them when elections are held in the coming months. Already, the opposition bloc is crying foul at the recent appointment of the new nominee to head the National Elections Commission, Councillor Ndubuisi Nwabudike. African Star was the first to report last week that he was under consideration for the position by President George M. Weah. The National Elections Commission Chairman nominee, Councillor Nwabudike, a naturalized Liberian who, until his recent preferment by the Liberian leader, was the head of one of the country's integrity institutions, the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission, the LACC. But a number of troubling concerns have surfaced for redress, and it is only fair, and for the sake of utmost transparency, that they be fully scrutinized. Councillor Nwabudike's involvement in the controversial ship deal, which called him into a conflict of interest in the matter. Refer to Front Page Africa story dated October 25, 2019, entitled Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission nominee Ndubuisi Nwabudike faces conflict of interest allegations. Integrity comes under scrutiny. The nominee for the NEC has denied any wrongdoing in the deal, but the yardstick for serving as head of an integrity institution is one where the individual is beyond reproach. As chairman of the country's governance commission, the GC, the public's knowledge of Councillor Nwabudike's involvement of achievement is relatively non-existent. An excerpt of the preamble of the Act establishing the Governance Commission of 2007 states as follows. Whereas, in order to achieve and maintain a holistic system of good governance that is inclusive, participatory, and just, and which promotes national oneness, sound public sector management, efficient and fair allocation and use of resources, and a culture of honesty and integrity, it is necessary to establish and maintain an autonomous agency commission dedicated to the pursuit of such desired goals. But since his appointment as acting chairman of the Governance Commission in May 2018, Councillor Nwabudike was less diligent or failed to strenuously advocate for ordinary Liberians who were forced to bypass the Good Governance Commission to make their voices heard through a number of anti-government protests. Their action was a desperate cry for the government of Liberia to adhere to the preamble of the Act establishing the Governance Commission. Councillor Nwabudike made the conscious decision to side with poor governance at the expense of the political and economic detriment of Liberian taxpayers who paid his salary and benefits as head of the Governance Commission. The tenure of Councillor Nwabudike at Liberia's Anti-Corruption Commission, the LACC, produced no tangible results. No accused public officials were successfully prosecuted and convicted. Audit reports of massive and questionable expenditures by agencies and officials of government remain untouched by the LACC, although his agency could have initiated and pursued legal action to recover public assets and monies for the benefits of Liberians. Councillor Nwabudike's voice and advocacy for integrity were missing during his brief stint at the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission. The National Elections Commission nominee, Councillor Nwabudike's violation of the Liberian Supreme Court ruling was evident when he served as acting head of the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission way past the 90-day mark without Senate confirmation. His lack of probity of this constitutional breach also and only perpetuated the long and common practice of non-respect for the rule of law among public officials in Liberia. His action should invite sanctions and query by Liberians, especially of his fitness for public office. Liberians, including political parties, are demanding political and economic reforms as the best vehicle for building a successful and prosperous future of governance, and in that matter, good governance, because it is apparent that the level of confidence between the government and the opposition is at low ebb. In order to generate any renewed level of confidence building, the ruling Coalition for Democratic Change, the CDC, must bridge the political divide by reaching out and acting in good faith with the opposition, and consider a mutual framework for the selection of credible individuals of high integrity at the National Elections Commission to whom Liberians can entrust the electoral administration. African Star in Liberia Public Radio urged the Liberian Senate and critical voices to begin to ask the hard questions of the new chairman designate, Councillor Nwabudike, challenge his qualifications or lack of, his record of achievements or lack of in the various positions of service. The intrusive confirmation process of Councillor Nwabudike and all nominees will, going forward, guarantee some level of good governance which all Liberians deserve. This commentary is a collaboration between African Star and Liberia Public Radio.
Very shortly. Let me get my. So are you there? Yeah, I'm not hearing you yet at all.
We must arise. Let's get together to fight Corona.
Hello everybody, my name is Rose Kebekaiwo, and I bring you a message from the office of the Vice President of the Republic of Liberia, Mama Joel for short. Her name is Chief Dr. Joel Howard Taylor, and she wants you to apply all the necessary measures when it comes to this coronavirus, because it is very much serious, not only in Liberia but all over the world. cases are being reported. Thousands and hundreds of cases are being reported everywhere.
Are you hearing me
So
now?
Mama Joel wants you to apply these measures. She wants you to have this bucket you see here, and you fill it up with water. That is, if you don't have these items on this table. Then you can use your soap. You don't just have to use the water alone, plain like that. If you don't have this item, use soap always to wash your hands. And I'm going to display just a simple household mentor so that you can stay safe all of the time from this coronavirus. First of all, you get your bowl of water. Let's just say I'm coming from out. I will not enter my house till I wash my hands. Now everybody have to stay safe. So you open this bucket and then have a pinch of water and pour it on the pipe. And then you open the pipe just a little so that the water won't flow, because if you just continue flowing the water with the pipe open wide, your water might finish earlier. So now look at how I'm washing my hands. You wash your hands like this, like this, like this, all between your fingers, and then you make sure you do like this so that all the dirt comes out from under your fingernails, like this too. And then before you close it, you do like this and close it tightly. You are safe. So that's not just all. I also have this paper web. It is disinfecting paper webs, Clorox disinfecting paper webs. I will take up one to see after washing my hands. This is what I'm going to apply. I'm going to do this because this has Clorox. It has detergent, disinfecting detergents, everything in it. And then you do like this. Always when you are wiping your hands, even if you finish washing your hands with the water, you apply the same menthol like this. After wiping your hands, you use the sanitizer. It's like this. Same old menthol, apply. And then you are safe. Coronavirus is very serious, and every Liberian must take it serious.
We must arise. Let's live together to fight Corona. We must arise. Let's live together to fight Corona.
Hello everybody, my name is Rose Kebekawo, and I bring you a message from the office of the Vice President of the Republic of Liberia, Mama Joel for short. Her name is Chief Dr. Joel Howard Taylor, and she wants you to apply all the necessary measures when it comes to this coronavirus, because it is very much serious, not only in Liberia but all over the world. Cases are
get to A but notwithstanding, so let's just get the discussion going. It's a little after 12 o'clock here. This afternoon right here from the East Coast of the Liberia Public Radio and LPR TV. Okay, Mr. Nyenuh, welcome. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Brother Zean.
All right.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
All right. I'm not sure. I really wanted to get a video so we see vis-a-vis, but the audio is not doing us a favor here. Notwithstanding, we would improvise using the other method. Quite a while now, you've been under this network here. It's quite crazy. By the way, how are things going from your end with this deadly virus?
So yes, it's basically I believe the same everywhere. For me, it's kind of very difficult because I would say I'm in the front lines of the fight against the virus. I work with the public health system in New York City, so I represent the doctors who actually work in those hospitals in New York City. So I'm in the front lines of the fight for basically getting doctors the supplies that they need to provide for patients. So it's been hectic, but hopefully we'll get through it.
All right. What our prayers and thoughts are with all of those in the front lines and all of the essential staff. This is time you have to show your commitment and get your job. You can, and that's the thing about it. We can't abandon our job because of prevailing circumstances and situations. Those are some of the things that we sign off to do. Okay, well, I thank you so much for your services, and stay safe. You know what to do in terms of providing, being well protected, so that you'll be able to save others as well. Okay, well, Mr. Nyenuh is the former JPC, that's the Kelly Justice and Peace Commission. He's been in the advocacy business, and we have invited him here. We're going to have a wide range of discussions. As usual, to our onliners, you are also invited to participate. Okay, let me get your take here. First of all, we're going to start it from your area, the advocacy business here. I'm concerned here whether we in the media or the general public opinion is jumping ahead of this game to adjudicate or to render some sort of a judgment on the Councilor Nwabuduke, who was nominated by the president. From the advocacy perspective, how is it being played out? Is it being treated fairly, or media is ripping him off?
First of all, thank you again for having me and for making me a part of this conversation. My position on Councillor Nwabuduke has been rather to focus on his fitness for office, which basically has to do with his experience, his qualifications, and of course his character. I've tried to stay away from the citizenship question until yesterday, actually, when Mr. Councillor Nwabuduke himself interjected that into the discussion. And I think with the drama of yesterday, the document is presented, the questioning before the legislature yesterday, I think that is a fundamental question and a fundamental issue that needs to be addressed. Elections are a major factor in the stabilization and democratization of any country, especially a country like Liberia, which is still emerging from the effects of several years of war and is still trying to build upon its democracy. That requires that elections commissions, members of the elections commission, and the systems that we put in place are credible and are acceptable to the people. Just listening to portions of the confirmation hearings and the questioning so far of Councillor Nwabuduke and other nominated members of the Elections Commission, I don't think that those nominees rise to the level, specifically as it relates to Councillor Nwabuduke, for several reasons. One, the document he presented, which is his so-called naturalization paper, his responses regarding when he was born and when he naturalized, his refusal initially to even present that document in the first place, the discrepancies in the document in terms of the misspelling of his name, in the very same document, and this morning information from the Criminal Code B that in fact they have no record of him ever naturalizing or going through the naturalization process at that court. All of these things, I think, basically disqualify him. It's a major distraction It undermines credibility in the election system, in the elections commission, and it serves no real useful purpose except maybe to just undermine our democracy even further.
So with this now, it makes it very, very much easier to politicians, commentators, and advocacy people to then inject politics into it. So let me just digress here a little bit here. What is a normal tradition? I spoke with a former senior government official just yesterday and this morning before coming on air. There has been a tradition when the president makes an appointment. In the past, there is a liaison officer from the executive branch of government, that of the legislature, to go through the process, and even proper vetting is done. Who kicked the can down the road? I believe the president. He has a legal team, legal advisor. This guy, from all indications, I surmise that the president, he knows it. He is a Nigerian. He naturalized. Do you think all of the tough questions were asked before even putting this name forward for as a possible nominee?
So if I were president, I would now be considering two things. One of two things. One, basically firing the people around me who should be carrying on this process, or at the very least, kind of including other more credible people on the panel. Yes, you're right. Anybody who's nominated by the president must be vetted. Their character must be vetted. Their qualification and fitness for that specific office must be vetted. And then that committee should even prepare and anticipate questions that will come up during the conversation.
Potential questions, you mean to say?
Exactly. So anticipate questions that they believe were potential questions, as you describe it, and then prepare the candidate. But more than that, you should vet the person. Look at their credentials. Look at their documents. Are they really fit and qualified? Is there anything in their background that might disqualify them from this office? And I believe this should have happened specifically in the case of the Elections Commission. One, because of the critical importance of elections, as I said, in helping us end the problems and associated with our war, building democracy, and also because of our history with elections in the past. There was the King elections, where King won with more people than actually voted. There was the 1985 elections that people cite today as one of the reasons why we had our civil war.
Right.
Exactly. So elections are not something to play with, especially in Liberia in post-conflict.
So, Mr. Nyenuh, I had to interrupt. Considering all of these factors, the president, Dr. Weah, he knows about the history when it comes to the election, even the very election that brought him to power, where in it at the Supreme Court, and there was some sort of a motion filed in by the Liberty Party. So what went wrong? Is seen that I talked to a government source, and that they are getting their side of the version, but everybody seems to be tight-lipped that the president was very, very much intransigent, and nobody knows the reason. At some point in time, hopefully, we get to know as to why this person was put forward. And just this morning, to just let you know, we are also hearing one of the nominees. It appears to be perjury now. This guy is from Sando County. Why would he tell lawmakers that he's from Bomi? Zion, he's from Sando County. We are getting all of this information. So why would the president and folks around the president entangle themselves in this sort of a deplorable of basket, so said Hillary Clinton during the election?
Yes. That is a question that I'm still pondering myself, and that is a question that I believe only the people, the president, and the people around him will answer. I'll tell you a story. So I was talking to somebody recently who's actually supposedly very close to the president, and I was saying to him, look, I think the people around the president are not serving him well. I think they're misleading him. They should be helping him. And here's what this guy told me. He's very close to the president. He said, no, Alphonso, don't say that. We have to get away from this thing in Liberia of blaming the people around the leader for the leader's faults, for the leader's problems. So what do you mean by that? He said, one, because the president, the people the president has around him, are the people the president wants around him. And he has those people around him because they will tell him what he wants to hear. And that's why he's encountering the problems he's encountering. So we should get away from just blaming the people around him and actually blame the leader himself. And I think that was a very profound statement. If the president
is that argument practical in real time war? Is that practical to say, okay, if I'm around you as an advisor, don't you think these people should also have the courage to look in the face of the president, or is it all about being protective of their job?
So there are two things. You're right. They should have the courage, and they should have the people in the country that have to stand up to the president and tell him what's right, or her what's right. I totally agree with that. But the point this gentleman was making is that if the leader is someone who doesn't want to hear contrary views, what he or she does is picks people who are yesers. And therefore, they will keep saying yesers for that reason. Secondly, because they want to keep their jobs, of course, So those are, now I'm not saying we shouldn't blame the people around the president entirely. I'm saying at the end of the day, the buck stops with the president. And these people are doing what the president presumably wants them to do. And if the shit hits the fan, I'm sorry for using that terminology, but it ends with the president. Therefore, the president should know better and enough to first know that doing the right thing and having the right people around him to give him the right advice is critical to his or her own success. It appears that this president apparently is not listening. I mean, according to yourself, information you're hearing is that the president insisted, despite advice from people around him. Now, we should also challenge those people to come up publicly and disagree or to even resign.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If they feel that, the country is being led in the wrong direction, are they capable of doing it? There might still be some people. It has happened before in our history. It's happened in recent times. And let's challenge them. Let's challenge those people to come and speak up just for the good of our country and our people. Because it seems that we're heading in the wrong direction. And somebody needs to have the courage to say, even if it leads me to losing my job, I will plant potato grains, I will plant cassava leaves, I'll plant beta balls and live. But that's better than plunging the country into another crisis where we all have to start running around again. We need people of courage who will be able to do that. Because as you correctly said, almost everybody, most people that have been nominated to the Elections Commission are basically involving themselves in shady.
So it looks like, it looks like there's a bone in the throats of these committee members. I'm pondering here, trying to make a guess game, which I can't figure out anything definitive as they go into their final chamber here. And Liberia Public Radio and African Star newspaper made her position clear, saying what is unfolding and knowing what we're knowing by now. Those nominees, they are unfit, they are unqualified, they do not represent the true picture, the true image to conduct any election process that should be or will be held in our country. And I mean, that's our opinion, that's our view, and calling on the president to withdraw those nominees.
I totally agree with you, and I would support that view. Here's this gentleman who is saying, who, for instance, basically presented fraudulent documents, who said he was born 1965.
He should be prosecuted. That's perjury. It's considered as a federal crime if you did that here in the Western world.
Oh, it's also perjury under Liberian law as well.
Exactly.
So yes, there's also perjury under Liberian law. And I think we should begin now to set examples, to begin to punish people. And once our institutions begin to do that, I believe two things will happen.
Mm-hmm.
People who present themselves for office will think twice. People who do the nominations will think twice. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So if Councillor Wambadike and other people who are perjuring themselves before the legislature are held accountable other people who are going for confirmation hearing or other appearances before the legislature will think twice before they lie, before they perjure themselves. The nominating bodies, such as the president, will think twice before they even put people forward of shady characters, because they will know that these people will be held accountable and they themselves will be brought into disrepute. So our institutions have to begin to work, and we need to begin to exert pressure at those levels, but also on the presidency as well. So I totally agree with the position of African Star and of NPR Radio, and I think that kind of pressure is needed so as to save our country from further embarrassment. This is total embarrassment. Yeah, there's a nominated member to the Elections Commission who has been there for 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And she was asked if the requirements, constitutional requirements of domicility that require that people live in their districts.
She couldn't answer.
Her answer is, that's a hard question. What do you mean it's a hard question? These are the things that you were supposed to use to qualify people to run for office.
No, but the thing for her, especially, Anne was very much appalled. Brown is a veteran journalist, and I think she's injected her skill and tried to pivot to dodge that question. But I mean, when she started into the introductory process, I said, well, I think this lady here, she seems to justify her inclusions and her experience being commissioners. But as we go further down, it became evident, and she was trying to make reference, and even when Senator Darius Guare of Rivers says asked her that question, I have to go and make sure. Give me a break. Go make sure of what?
Of what? So are you saying that even when Senator Guare presented his papers to contest, that you didn't even try to find out whether he's from Riverside or he meets the requirements of running for Senate in Riverside? Because that's what is supposed to happen for every candidate. Every candidate. Now, the fact that you're saying it's a difficult question suggests to me that the Election Commission hasn't been doing that, hasn't been doing due diligence, the very, very same due diligence we're talking about. I mean, if you're not even trying to see whether people, to look at the qualification requirements to see whether people qualify to run for office, if you're not even doing that, what are you doing at the Election Commission? What has the Election Commission been doing? I mean, if I leave here today and I'm saying I'm going to run for an office in Riverside, and I don't have property, which is required by the Constitutional Election Law, and I haven't lived there, which is required, it appears to me I can zoom through and run. I mean, we had a case where Representative Edwin Snow was representing one district, Montserrat, and then went to Bummy to contest in another district. And that very issue came up. I believe it went to as far as the Supreme Court. I mean, this is the problem, the corruption in our institutions that we've been fighting all along, saying there should be accountability. As long as there's no accountability, as long as people can do these things and get off the hook and think it's good, it will continue. There's nothing that's going to stop it. Nothing. Until we begin to hold people accountable. Period. And a third. It's not magic. It's not magic. It's not, I mean, it's just not magic. We say, oh, America has a system. America has an institution. You think it fell from heaven? It fell from in the skies? They tested the system. They corrected it. They cut flaws. They plugged those holes. They held people accountable. There's still corruption here. However, people know that when they are caught, they will be held accountable. That's why when a police officer pulls you over, he's not going to take $10 or $20 from you.
No.
Yeah. But that is the problem.
Mr. What do you think is going on in the political world of the coalition, the CDC, seeing what is unfolding here? What sort of political signal you sent to this government here, considering here? Would the president get the courage to even, instead of denying those folks, to get the courage and call this nominee withdrawal? Or what could potentially be after this process? Because this is a guy who was occupy profile positions, anti-corruption, and so if he's being charged with perjury and there's some sort of fraudulent act is already being committed here, where are we heading?
Exactly, exactly. And it all boils down to what we've always advocated. Leadership is critical. Leadership of a country is extremely important. It requires experience, it requires knowledge, it requires the ability. A leader doesn't have to know everything. There's no leader. The days of the philosopher king are over, where the smartest person in the old days, the philosopher was also the leader. Those days are over. Now, leadership requires consultation. Leadership requires bringing everybody on board. Leadership requires sometimes you, the leader, leading from behind. And I think the problem here is that this government is failing those requirements of leadership. You have to consult with people. And let me give you an example of that. Election, even though the election law of Liberia and the Constitution gave the president the authority to nominate members of the Elections Commission, the practice has always been that to build confidence and credibility in the process, that presidents have consulted with political parties, with civil society organizations.
They did it the last time around, correct? And that's what brought Bronson into the commission.
So you create a commission where everybody feels, confident that yes, we are somewhat, our views, our interests are somehow represented on this commission. That is what has happened in the past. I worked very, very deeply with the 1997 Elections Commission because I headed one of the arms of LEON, Liberia Election Observers Network, which is the first ever Liberian election monitoring process in the country. And I work very closely with the Elections Commission, so I know. Members of the Election Commission were drawn from sectors of the society. Tia Nangbe, who headed the education and advocacy arm, was proffered by the youth. And so on and so forth, so that people can. So that has been the tradition in Liberia. The president would do well to withdraw his nominations and pursue that process.
So, what message does this send to the political party and other stakeholders, the actions by the CDC-led government, considering for the well, this thing most likely wouldn't have gone through, not going back to those traditional things here. What message has it sent to them? Is there any lesson to learn from there, or was it part of a ploy to solidify their position? The very first thing here, and I'm going to have you respond to this, the very first thing, the timing of the appointment here. It suggests to me that this government were trying to have some sort of easy flow when we were in the middle, and the entire world in the middle of dealing with pandemic. Instead of the president or the administration keeping focus to see what's going to be happening, it seems to me two or a few persons just gather. Let's bring into this, and no one going to play mind to commissioners, confirmations, and we're going to have an easy ride. That seems not to be the case.
Yeah, and I will place the blame on two fronts. First, on the president and executive for even going forward to nominate these people in the midst of this global pandemic, but also blame the members of the Senate for even going ahead with the confirmation hearings now. Where's the rush? Where's the rush? There are marketers demonstrating in the streets, violating social distancing because they're angry, because their market stores have been broken down. There are legislators crossing the border without going through the necessary check and quarantine measures. There are people holding church services. And there's nothing that the legislature is doing about it, but it's busy in itself with confirmation hearing. Right? Isn't that crazy?
Right.
I mean, so we have the hindsight of Ebola. We saw how Ebola devastated that country, killed over 5,000 people and decimated the economy. Today, we still feel the effects of Ebola. This is even deadlier by all scientific models. And here we are, based in our country, with confirmation hearings for election commission, where the government itself has said they're not going to hold any elections anytime soon because they don't have money. But that seems to be our preoccupation. That is insane. But again, that boils down to leadership.
Who do you think here, when I've been listening to the different hearings, but yesterday seems to be the deal breaker and eye-opening, and it shows to me that someone's validated the importance of educations and opening eyes. And when I was hearing, I applaud Councillor Vani Sherman, because he started off, makes him to get relaxed, brought him into the scene, get him into the mood, make him to feel right, and then he flips. It reminds me of the Ruben White of BBC when he's interviewing president. And when you see from the facial expressions of Councillor Nwakabuki or whatever his name, that question was damaging. But what I also, I'm interested in knowing here is there's a violation already. I want to know whether his parents were also naturalized Liberian at the time he was minor. Let's see what happened. Was there anything, do you think that question going to come out, or that question has it come into stage?
So I think that's a moot question. And even if it came up, it wouldn't impact anything in terms of his citizenship, because one, Liberian Alien and Nationality Law says, even if his father came to Liberia in the 1940s and naturalized, Liberian nationality law basically says that if you went to Liberia and you naturalized, and after naturalizing, if at any point after you naturalized and became a Liberian citizen, if you left Liberia and went back to your country of origin, previous nationality, and resided there for 2 years, up to 2 years, you lose your Liberian citizenship. If you went to another country and resided there for up to 5 years, you lose your Liberian citizenship. So let's say his father came to Liberia and naturalized in 1946, 47, whatever the case may be. Once his father returned to Nigeria and lived in Nigeria for 6 years, he was no longer a citizen of Liberia. So basically his father was a non-citizen of Liberia, if he ever was a non-citizen of Liberia when he had Onubisi Nwabudike in 1965. Assuming, so in that case, Nwabudike would not be able to derive any nationality benefits from his father. So that's even a moot case. And I think Nwabudike was smart enough when he was asked that question to say, no, my citizenship is not based upon my father's, because it could not be based upon his father's legally. And then we came to the point of when he actually naturalized. If he was born 65, naturalized 82.
Do you think he saw that question coming at any point? Do you think he guessed that question was going to come to light? The question from Vani Sherman.
I don't think so. But that's the training and brilliance of lawyers and journalists. We always pull people in. We always relax people. And then we get them to the point and ask them the hard and difficult questions, as you alluded to earlier with Robin White and everybody else. Lawyers are especially skilled at that. So they lay the basics, they lay the groundwork, and you don't know where they're going. And then suddenly they take you in a direction where they can catch you in a lie, in a fraud. And I believe basically that's what happened. I mean, the fact that Councillor Nwabudike didn't even present, of all the documents he presented, the fundamental question was his citizenship. The fact that he did not even present that, number one.
Right.
Number two, the fact that they asked him at the hearing and he said he left it home. Number three, the fact that he said, oh, somebody heard and was watching on television and brought my naturalization certificate. Who's dumb? So this person had a copy of your naturalization certificate and was waiting to bring it? Is that, I mean, the
But
president should get up this money and withdraw that man nomination forthwith, or else he
up to
will.
press time, we are having this live program. It has not happened. So the question
Yeah,
becomes, will it ever happen? But here is the thing. This is where I got the apprehension came about. The very first signal here, his interview with Front Page, right?
mm-hmm.
Okay, try me. You will see. Like, wait a minute. This guy
Mm-hmm.
is not confident of himself. This is
Yeah,
not JFK or a Tapeta hospital where experiment will be done. We are talking about presidential or senatorial elections that is on hand. And you
yeah,
are not validating, you are not solidifying your position, the reasons for which that you are qualified for this. Just try me and see. So we should try you for the senatorial election, right? When everything
yeah,
going helter scatter, and there's no any evidence that whether you're even going to be replaced, then we go to what 2023. That was the very first hair squashing and
yeah,
signal to
yeah,
to anybody who looks between the line that
yeah.
something right wasn't going on.
Well, first of all, one thing, I mean, this guy thinks he's smarter than everybody, and he can mislead everybody, and that's insane. First of all, those are tenured positions, so we don't try for you there. You have 7 years to stay there. We can't say, "Oh, we're trying you, so now we'll remove you." That's the first thing.
Okay.
Second thing is that we don't try people when it comes to how our democracy is supposed to survive
I don't know whether I even work
and
in his own land of
function.
Nigeria to
Yes,
have
how
those
we
sort of
try,
experiment. I think people should
and
be
we,
experimenting this, how you call it, this coronavirus vaccine. That's something we can take the risks to do.
yeah, 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 yeah. But we don't try because elections determine whether a country remains peaceful or returns, especially a post-conflict country as Liberia, whether it remains peaceful or it returns to violence, chaos, and instability. Elections determine whether our
I'm getting the information here from our correspondents. Also, right outside, the process has been so restrictive in Liberia. But I'm getting information here that the Senate has postponed confirmation hearing of NEC boss designate. What does that tell you?
yeah, I don't know. I don't want to read a lot into it. I know earlier before we came on air when I was listening, political parties, representatives of political parties, basically giving their views on that.
The argument was
I
very
was,
strong today.
yeah, yeah. So I would assume that maybe the members of the Senate want to consider all of those views. But I also believe personally that we already have enough information to basically send Councillor Wambadike home and say, sorry, thanks, but no thanks.
Okay.
And stop wasting the Liberian people's time and resources on that kind of confirmation hearing. That's what I will recommend. That's what I would say.
Okay, Mr. Nyenuh, hold on one second. I have another caller here who is a regular contributor here on the Liberia Public Radio. Sometimes we agree, sometimes we do not agree. Which, of course, that's the beauty of this business here. But he's a strong sedition. But it's amazing to see how things treat him. Let me just read his comment here, and I'm going to bring him in. I'm talking about Christopher Lotti Tobasi. We are encouraging state prosecutors in Liberia to start preparing themselves for a criminal investigation and indictment of NEC nominee Nwakabuzi, the Nigerian for perjury, massive naturalization, fraud scheme, etc. Christopher Tobasi is joining this forum. Christopher, good afternoon.
Yes, Honorable Sue, thank you for the opportunity, and thank you to your guests too for coming on.
Okay, this one here, maybe we have not agreed on anything. I don't think this one ceasefire going to be broken in any way. You have been very consistent and been tweeting, been writing here. Now I am discussing here. Other news outlets going to be discussing it, and they're going to be like the president going to be the breakfast and dinner in our discussion. Were you then to blame the media industry? What went wrong in the vetting process of the CDC, knowing who this guy is?
Yeah, Honorable Sue, I want to say thank you again. You know, like I said, not because our forefathers made mistake yesterday, so we should make the same mistake today. Not because Helen Johnson Stanley made mistakes yesterday, so we should repeat the same mistakes today. No. You know, the Constitution said one thing. The language was clear. But the president advisors saw this. I mean, this is like a hot ball. No, this is like a complete mess. If I was one of the advisors of the president, I will go, because I want the best of the president, I want the best of the party. I will do a complete background check. This is what is done all over the world. I want to know this man. I want to know his mother history, his father. I want to go to the Gola community, the Gola family. I want to go there and talk to people and ask questions. Because, I mean, we're talking about election boss here for the entire country. And it's so sad today that we are taking a beating. This is a complete shellacking. The president is taking a beating. The party is taking a beating, all because
Who do you think honestly initiated this? Who do you think, Christopher? Who do you think initiated this beating? In fact,
I mean, like I said, the person that presented this nominee to the president, the person that came up with the idea, this person should be suspended or terminated. Because what we are experiencing, in fact, Honorable Sue, I really like what happened here. You know, because I hope Liberia will learn from this. I hope we'll go back and fix things. Because for this Nigerian man to penetrate the system, for this Nigerian man to expose Liberia like this in a very negative and very dangerous way. I don't know how many Wabodike are still out there. I don't know how many of them are still in our country. So we got a problem. We got a problem. I'm calling for a criminal investigation. I'm calling for an indictment. Look, Wabodike can do himself a favor and say, look, I'm sorry. I've been in this country for so long. Let me go through the proper channel. Let me do it right. After lying and after living a fake life for so long, let me do it right. Maybe, yes, maybe the president can issue an executive or whatever power he has to make him a citizen, but this guy can never hold any position in our country.
But he's currently he's occupying key positions. So the question now becomes, hold on one second, let me bring in Mr. Nyenuh here. Mr. Nyenuh, hearing this, these are some hardcore seditions, and even Representative, what his name, Slow Nangbe, there were some signals. I just don't know whether the president on purpose or folks that surrounding the president say, hey, you know what, don't mind those people. They're going to talk about it. At the end of the day, they're going to survive. Now, knowing what we know for now, do you think he will survive with the current position that he has?
I think he should not survive. I think he should, and that's what I said earlier. I think President Weah, to serve himself and his government right, should quickly act. Do not allow this man, do not wait. I mean, free advice, do not wait until this man is rejected. He should move quickly to withdraw this man's nomination, to even withdraw his appointment to the LACC, Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission. Because if he doesn't do that and puts the country through this embarrassment where everybody is rising up, the tension then goes against him as, you know, the person who was adamant in doing something wrong, and he was defeated in the process. So if I was advising him politically, I would tell him to withdraw this nomination, withdraw Ondubuki's appointment from the Anti-Corruption Commission, because my understanding is he hasn't even been confirmed in that position, and appoint other people to that process. That will show, or at the very least, that will make people to believe that the president did not know and he was not party to this fraud, or apparent fraud by Councillor Wambudike. If, however, knowing everything that we know, the president still insists that this is the person that he wants, then he's a party to the process. then the only thing we have to believe is to believe that he's a party to the process, that he was aware of the fraud, and he's putting this fraudster on the elections commission to manipulate the elections in his favor. That is the message that is being sent out there, and that's the message that we'll carry if he doesn't take the action that is being proposed to really withdraw this man's nomination. I mean, it's clear.
So
it's clear
can one say now, seeing what is unfolding with this sort of decision making by the ruling party, can I say is some sort of plot now being initiated for these people to manipulate the election? But wait, let me just get a question here, and I want you guys to ask your question if you have your question, or saying here 617 number here 1186. Good afternoon, caller. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Calvin Dway, and I'm calling from Massachusetts.
All right, Mr. Dway, how are you, sir?
Fine, thank you.
All right, how is the Bay State? Horrible, right? With them. Yeah. Okay, we wouldn't really propose to have this sort of a discussion, but it is good to have it within the public domain too, right, to know exactly what is going on. Kevin, seeing what is unfolding here, so what is the stunning thing about this whole thing here? Is it surprising? How this happened? Anybody see it coming at all?
Well, for me, I will start from what I want to believe is the beginning of the whole process. We Liberians, for the most part, we make a lot of assumptions, and we don't try to investigate deeper. I say this to say that the Liberian Bar Association is one of the most esteemed organizations in the country.
Right.
That organization is an organization of professionals. If you look at the appointments in government today, at least most of the leaders, take maybe about 70% are lawyers. So if you graduate into the Bar Association, we expect that you should have keen eyes and you should be able to be thorough in everything you do. Unfortunately, Wambudiki used the Bar Association as a base to parade the corridor of power. And they did not investigate Wambudiki's citizenship status all through these years. Now, you can even move it on to the Supreme Court. The man he sat the bar and became a counselor. How did the Supreme Court go about the vetting process? I mean, if any name comes for me like a Wambudiki or whatever, and I'm in the Supreme Court, I know definitely based on the genealogy of the name that is of at least a foreign descent. So it should click to me to do a little bit of background investigation. Unfortunately not. I'm being told that Wambudiki was the first choice of the current Chief Justice under Ellen's administration to be the Supreme Court administrator. And because of some maneuvering, he was denied that position. So you see how close to power he would have come before even being appointed to the GAC, LSCC, and subsequently the Elections Commission. So don't we think that we have a problem with these major institutions that we have? That's my question I would like to pose to the floor.
Okay, let me bring in my man here, Mr. Nyenuh. Alphonso Nyenuh is here as a special guest. Mr. Nyenuh, that's a valid point. So it seems to me, what Mr. Dway is saying here, we need to follow the trail map, where this guy came from, where the mistake came from, to see where he got today, to be up there and potentially he was almost on top of the world, and something is being hedged. Do we have to go back there now to also trace to get that sort of a full print of his how he got to where he is today? Is it that important now?
Yes, that's very important. That's very, very important. So responding to a friend of mine earlier today, I said we can, to borrow an American phrase, I said we can walk and chew gum at the same time. So first of all, we should make sure that Councilor Wambudike is rejected and prosecuted. And then in the prosecution process, we gather evidence as to how he was able to convince the Bar Association of his citizenship and how he was able to convince the Supreme Court of his citizenship with documents that he gave them. Did he bribe them? Did they connive with him? Those are questions that we're asking the prosecution process. And those are questions that journalists should be asking right now. That I'm kind of a little set aback that that's not happening already, because there was a gentleman, a Nigerian gentleman, who said he had a vessel in Liberia, and Wambudike tried basically to steal the vessel from him and to steal money from him. And this gentleman says he's in possession of documents, court documents, to that effect. This gentleman also named people in courts that journalists can actually go to as part of the investigation process and acquire those public documents. Those are public documents. So I would think that we should begin the process right now of investigating everybody. Councilor Justice Copper, who was cited and who this gentleman said even gave him a recommendation, and who Mr. Dewey just said wanted to appoint Wambudike as a court inspector, it's in Liberia. Can journalists approach him and interview him and say, what did you see? The Bar Association leadership is there. Let's go after them. Let's ask them, where are the documents that this gentleman presented before you that convinced you that he was a citizen of Liberia, for which you admitted him to the Bar Association? See, we must hold people accountable and expose them. That's the only way we will put people on their heels and make sure that they do the right thing. When we let people off the hook, they see no reason to do the right thing. So we should actually go after, Mr. Dway is right, we should go after those institutions. We should ask the Chief Justice, hey, you nominated this man to be Inspector General of Courts of the Republic of Liberia. That is a position that really should be held by, you made this man to the Supreme Court Bar as a counselor at law. Where are the documents this man presented to show he was a Liberian citizen? Let's hold those people accountable so they don't continue to do those things that they're doing that are undermining our country. And as somebody said, Professor Joe Baba, I mean, if somebody can infiltrate to this level, who knows his intentions? Who knows? I mean, this guy used fraud, presumably, to almost get in the Supreme Court. This guy used fraud, presumably, to also almost get and head our elections commission. What else is more pertinent to the national security of a country than the elections commission, than the elections of a country, which we all know can be a source of conflict all over the world?
Quite interesting. Before I come to the call out, I have a Nigerian colleague who happens to be a manager at Alain Gato. He's a professional person, and I was in a conversation just this morning. I say, is it possible that you can also establish name identity? Like in my country, it's a very small country, but to some extent, when somebody call his or her last name, I can easily make a guess which regions or county that person from. And he said yes, and I just want to wrote this guy's name and just to share, because I was trying to get a sense of what was happening. And when he saw it, he said, oh, he's my countryman from the Igbo tribe. So I said, what is about the Igbo people? He said Nigeria, there are about more than 250 tribes in Nigeria. But out of that, there are 3 important tribes, more or less, that are people are local. That is the Hausa, the Yoruba, and the Igbo. And he broke it down to these people, there are different teams they're involving. He said the Igbo, I'm an Igbo, but Igbo, they are travelers. Igbo, they make way. They know how to find something. When Igbo man comes here after 1 week, 2 weeks, he stays there. He knows exactly what is in demand. And those inhabiting in that area, if they can't see it with their physical eye because they are not far-sighted, Igbo men will make use of it. They are business-oriented. They can do anything to get money. You can have an Igbo man work here, but forget it. They are doing stuff. And they are the underprivileged group of people in Nigeria. The Hausa, they're the one get the political power because why? They are less educated, and so the British people gave them something. So for them, they are complacent. They don't travel. But you see, the Igbo and the Yoruba, if you go any part of this world, they are the people that are traveling. Why? They're always looking for something. They're always trying to find something. So that kind of like gave us a this is quite fascinating. This is quite interesting. So is that how this guy was trying to manipulate him? Why somebody did not sing that? But before, Christopher, are you there? Before I come to Christopher, let me just get this other caller here. So Christopher, Mr. Dweji made something here. It is not just only, it shouldn't be left within the chambers right now. We should go back to the bad association where this guy's he generated from to see where he is, and ask some of the tough questions. Who were those judges or who were there that presided to get him to claim this ladder? Nothing wrong with Nigerian Sierra Leone men, but the idea you must go through the process. So does that make sense? Mm-hmm.
You know, so look, I'm a criminal justice student, right? I cannot just believe anything. I got to investigate. I got to look at it over and over again. You know, look, if Musa didn't want to regain my trust, Musa Dean should take over this case and show to the Liberian people that nobody can just walk into Liberia and just do anything and get away with it. Musa, look, people will get fired. If Musa Dean is a serious man, serious-minded human being, people should get fired. People should go to jail for this. Not because of why our forefathers did in the 40s with Tottenham, with open door policies. Look, Mr. Soe, let's be real here. Our neighbors, our constitution don't even resemble our nationalization laws, don't even resemble our neighbors' laws. A Nigerian man can walk into Liberia and have a dual allegiance. What is that? Why Liberia can't revisit some of the people around us and see what they're doing? What do you mean by Negro descent? What do you mean by any black man can just be citizen of a country? What kind of stuff is that? If we're going to fix it, we got to fix it from this case. Something can bring something up. If we're going to get it right, we got to get it right from today. I am calling on our government, our prosecutors, to follow this, to investigate, to indict people, to go to the Supreme Court and find out if Justice Kogba knew something, when, where, and how. People should be investigated and people should be brought to court. Let the law take its course.
So do you also support
this president? I support this party. I support this president. But the right thing must be done.
So do you also, before I go to the next caller here, I'm just curious to know now that somebody is tweeting here, he's also occupying a high-profile position. Considering what is unfolding now, do you think that this gentleman, the president, should withdraw that name?
Nominated somebody else, though. I think they already nominated. I think somebody else is going through confirmation for that.
Yeah. Somebody, even the guy was dead yesterday prior to that.
So I don't think he will go back there. In fact,
he was acting, so we don't know whether he will be maybe deputy or he was acting.
Mr. Soe, this is turning into a criminal investigation. This is going to get ugly, super ugly. It's going to get bad for some people in our
Will the president get that courage to
Musa Dean?
No,
Musa Dean got to do his work.
Would they allow Musa? So would they allow the executive branch of government? Would they allow Musa Dean to do his work? That's the question too. Would they give him the resources required to prosecute him if there was anything?
Yes, I know this president. I respect this president. Where the president is right now, he's so angry and pissed off because certain advisors brought somebody who did not they didn't vet properly. They presented him with a flawed candidate. I mean, a flawed nominee. The president is angry right now. He's mad, and he will want to.
Should the president himself be held liable of making a poor judgment?
No, the president got so many things to do in a daytime. A president can he can do 500 different things in the daytime.
You seem to exempt the president, the one who does the appointment, who is the final decision maker of this whole thing here. You seem to exempt me from the process. How can you vindicate him?
It is not, Mr. Soe, it is not my, that's why you the pundit. That's why our brother who is our guest here today. That's why you people come in. I cannot do the job for you people and so many other Liberians out there. I am saying that my president right now, I know this man, he's angry, he's pissed off, whether that Charles Bright presented this guy, whether that Archibald Bona presented his brother, this president is mad, he's angry right now, and somebody will get fired and something will get done.
Okay, hold on. Okay, hold on 1 second. Let me come to this. Yeah, is that 484?
No, I'm 484. This is Steve where I want to join in, please.
Yeah, okay, Steve, go ahead. How are you? Welcome. Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Hold on, Steve. 1 minute, Steve. Mr. You wanted to respond to something quick?
Yeah. So very quickly, a few seconds. So, but the point I also wanted to make, I appreciate our brother. I forget him. It's Tobasi's. Am I getting the name right?
Yeah, Christopher. Yeah, Tobasi.
Okay, brother Chris and stuff. But the point I wanted to make is there's also precedence. There's precedence, I remember. And that precedent was when President Weah nominated for the position of Deputy Minister of Defense. Somebody who came publicly and said he was going to shoot and kill people who touch his property, that Mr. Weah himself was being lenient with demonstrators and all of that. So there's also precedence. And that should have brought, I hope it did, this repute to the president's office. If I were the president, if somebody brought somebody else to me after that experience, I would be mindful. So I don't want to exonerate the president completely because I believe there's a trend here. I just want to make that point as well.
Can I make a quick comment just in a same light?
Yeah, come in. Then you finish, then I'll bring you in. Go ahead, Mr.
No, it wasn't me, and I think it was Calvin.
Okay, all right. Go ahead, Steve. What's your... Are we making this out of are we magnifying things here that we have no business doing, or are we having a legitimate argument to keep the conversation, Steve?
I think the argument is very intelligent, and that's why I want to be part of it. The only thing here is it's bigger than what we taking it to be, because our society, and that's why I have fundamental problem with most of the journalists that tend to only the president, the executive. Liberia will do well if the three branches of government take that responsibility seriously. And not everything the president. Now, it's because of this young man, a Nigerian born. That's why this thing is coming to us today, or because of the sensitivity of the job that is giving him to be the chairman for election commission in Liberia. But the crowd continues to go on long time, on years. If Mr. Boakai, who is the vice president of Liberia, people continue to call that this man is not a Liberian, he's from Sierra Leone. Nobody questioned that. So today, I'm sure this man is not a Liberian in my own view, but then we get a goal, and we should not be selective. There are lots of people that have held position in that country, and Liberians are being left out. So starting with this man, we get to make sure, even the political leaders that are crying today, they make sure that those that they are fronting to be Liberians, they should also check them, not just the woman, man, but it should be everywhere. You have political party leaders, standard bearer, who they question their credential, and nobody seems to go after them. There was an old man He was actually selling the market. And generally, I think Bwaka and myself were born. I mean, we're from Lofa. The man did not come from Lofa. He was brought in there, and everybody. If they're not for the election, like Open One, he would have been the next president. There are lots of things that go in Liberia. I hope the issue will continue so that we can really get to the nitty gritty and maybe change some of these things, these laws that are preventing Liberia, like President alluded to just now. Because you go to Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone, people will not just get any position they want to get when they are not citizens. And then I don't blame the president because you told me, and what Calvin was saying, this man almost became some top position in the justice. I will call temple of justice.
So Chris, Mr. Kwe.
Yes.
So okay, let's dwell on that. That was during the presidency of Helen Johnson Sirleaf. So does that mean that because of he was excelling during the Helen Johnson Sirleaf government, this government should not do her due diligence as well too before even giving such a vital position?
But what is due diligence if the law is the Liberian? If somebody of Calvin was saying that to be a member of the bar association, it means that you are Liberian. Everything has been checked to be a member of the bar association in the first place. This man is a lawyer, has been winning cases or working in those places. You expect the president to go against it. Those men are Liberian. Is that what you're saying? I think the legislator now, what it is the best thing to do. The president has the nominating power. If somebody's right, and before he came there, he had a portfolio. So that's what we don't know. The bar association is not.
So let me ask a generic question here, Mr. And let me see, Mr. I believe Mr. Nyenuh. So do we think? Okay, this is what Mr. Mike Davis says. Mr. So the issue that you are discussing today is about national security and should not be taken lightly. Fraud defined as wrongful or criminal deception intended to result in financial or personal gain. This issue should be turned over to NSA, that is the National Security Agency, I believe, Intelligence and Counterintelligence Division, through the supervisions of the Ministry of Justice. So potentially here, the Liberians had outrage, alleged crime or fraudulent act is being committed. So I'm wondering here whether again a proper vetting was done. So this seems to pull out. This seems to pull out of less, though. This seems to pull out of less.
I'm still here. I wanted to come in a little bit to give a little bit of chronology. I'm not sure what hello?
Yeah, Kevin, I'm hearing you.
Yeah. For me, I like to look at a little bit of history and patterns. The first portion of my story here is that I don't know, just a few years back, the first man that was selected to be Justice Minister was Councillor Gibson. Councillor Gibson had a very shady character. In fact, the Bar Association has suspended him from practicing because of ethical reasons. Councillor, if you look into the history of Councillor Gibson and his shady deals, Nwamoduki was an elite partner of Councillor Gibson's deals. So Nwamoduki did not just pop in today. He has been around the circle of the whole legal framework for some time.
Wow.
Out of every 100 lawyers that you may have interacted with in Monrovia, at least about 90 of them may have either interacted or worked somewhere either against or with Nwamoduki. So he's not a stranger. And it's not, his shady deals are not anything very hidden. I'm saying this to say that the last speaker, Chris Tobasi, that they want to exonerate the executive office about Nwamoduki's deals. Then just look back at Charles Gibson's appointment and what became of it. So, if Wambuduki along with Charles Gibson over this period and all of these things happen, and he could be appointed to a couple of other positions, even the Charles Gibson today, I understand is a member of some other board. I'm saying this to say that the government is aware. I mean, the executive office. This is in no way a mistake. I mean, they may not be aware of Wambuduki's citizenship and all the shitty deals under it. But
So that
they are
why, so
aware
Mr.
of-
Dwayne, why
they are
somebody
aware
didn't
of
ask?
working
There are some
shitty-
old folks who have
they are
been
aware
working with the
of
government. Why
shitty
somebody didn't even ask?
Position. Yeah.
So, you know,
So, and if I may come in,
yeah.
if I may come in. So yes, it's true that, presumably true, that the Bar Association failed in really vetting this man. It's also true that the Supreme Court might have failed in vetting this man. But that's why we have redundancies in the system. So if one system fails, the other system might pick it up. If the other system doesn't pick it up, the Terraform system might pick it up. So I totally agree. We should go after the Bar Association. We should go after the Supreme Court. But as Brother Calvin has just said, even after those processes, even after this man was admitted to the Bar Association, even after he almost got on the Supreme Court, there were red flags. There were red flags. The issue I mentioned earlier, which was the issue of this vessel owner, who said Wambuduki tried to steal his vessel away from him. Consequently, the vessel got damaged. And there are legal cases, well, there were legal cases, and there are legal documents in the court system that are available. Tells me that we shouldn't just say, oh, because he got admitted to the bar, oh, because he got admitted, almost got appointed to the Supreme Court, therefore we can appoint him without vetting. Because there were cases that came up even after those processes. And as Brother Dwayne just said, one of them was the reason why this gentleman, I forget his name, was even denied.
Gibson.
Then Justice Gibson was denied by the Senate when he was nominated by the president for being Justice Minister. So we cannot let this administration off the hook. In as much as other people before them made some errors in this process, one, they failed. And they failed miserably. And they continue to do that. Again, as I said, this is not the first time that they have presented a flawed candidate or a set of flawed candidates. Even in this confirmation hearing, we're still hearing people who are changing their counties of origin. For what reason, I don't know.
And like I said, one of the candidates, what we are hearing now, but this is a potential abuse of power. There are ties with the pro-tem relationship and all of that, and bringing them into government to occupy high-profile position like this. It's a complete abuse of power.
That suggestion, what it suggests to me is that these people...
Yeah, hold on 1 second. Let's do it one at a time.
These people, yeah, a few seconds, sorry.
No, go
what
ahead.
That suggests to me is that the appointing power might have some vested interest in what these people might be willing to do for them. And people who... Yes, go ahead. I'll stop.
I want to take sentiment out of this thing here because to me, Liberians, we are very sentimental and we project our own impression. And it had nothing, nobody. I mean, we are living in America. This is the cradle of democracy. Presidents have appointed people. It is the responsibility of the legislator to reject, or you cannot assume that Donald Trump appointed people and people come and delve into their character. And they said, no, you cannot assume that, upon doing that, or the president going to get something.
But no, Steve, let's get it right here. Let's get it right here.
I think that's a very.
I'm just telling you, the president.
First of all, First of all, to ask us to discuss something of this importance without sentiments, and I don't know. I don't know.
But let's get it right. Even Steve, let's get it right. Even when Donald Trump appointed Jerry Kushner as an advisor, of course, the media talked about it because at that time he becomes a public official, so there is nothing more hearing. So if it is proven, like we've been hearing, like two of the nominees have ties with the pro tem, and that's the fact. If that is the case, then there's a potential influence in the decision makings of even bringing these nominees. One of the other guy we are hearing, he's from the southeast side. He has lied that he's from Bomi County, which of course he's from Sino. And I know that story going to come out later on. People knows the story. His information is out there. So these are all deceptions and abuse of power. We must say it as it is.
So, what I'm saying to you, Alphonso, the president has the right to appoint.
Of course, yeah.
The legislature got a right. The legislature got a right to reject, and that is the process we need to follow. But to assume that they may have this thing and the president is supposed to know about it, that is not what we should be thinking. The president appoints people. If you reject it, you got a right again to appoint somebody else.
But let's also accept the responsibility before even the appointment of these people here, the ultimate and final decisions of all of these things before the name is pronounced, it comes from the executive branch of government. And that's what we are saying. In as much you have the authority to appoint, you should also have this discussion behind closed door before the name surface.
And brother, so if I may add,
hold on one second. After
the president. Yeah, there are a few reasons why the president should be concerned and vet people, and this is one of the reasons we're in now. The embarrassment of putting flawed candidates up for confirmation. That's one of the reasons why the president should make sure that the people he's putting forward are vetted, so it doesn't come back to bite him. As Brother Chris said earlier, this is a blemish on the president, on the presidency, and on his party. Now, if you don't see it, if nobody sees it, I'm sorry. The second reason why it's important for president to vet people before he puts them forward, or he or she puts them forward, is because the president should be interested in making sure that these people do the right thing. And people with shady characters will obviously not do the right thing. So you want to make sure you check people, their qualifications, their character, a fitness for a specific job you're putting into before you put them there. These are key reasons why the president and his team should vet people. Now to say, because the president has power to appoint people, so he can jump out there and appoint anybody, and then leave the burden to the legislature to do it, I think it's untenable. I think it's very, very untenable. And leaving the executive and the president out of this thing and say, let's not blame them as the job of the legislature, is also disingenuous. For those reasons,
there was a public outcry since his name was announced from former Minister Louis Brown, Ambassador Brown, and all of that. Who's there?
Yeah, Mr. Soe, is Christopher, and I want to say.
Yeah, Christopher. Yeah, go ahead, Christopher.
On the platform today, Mr. Soe, sooner or later, this thing, I think he have already left the House of Parliament. I think now it's heading, because this is a criminal investigation now. I don't care how we can talk about.
We shouldn't consider as a nominee again. It's a potential criminal.
We can talk about all the political and all these things, right? For me, I came out day one. I started this thing and I nipped it in the ball right away. I said, look, this is a mistake. We shouldn't have giving Wabo DJ the opportunity to say that kind of, look, this is a sensitive position. Nowhere in the world you will go. Look, nowhere in the world where people will just bring, even though the Constitution was clear about nationalization wherever, but still, the president advisors had no business convincing and presenting this guy to the president to say that this is our guy. We have vetted this guy. We have,
So is
we have done our background check.
so Christopher, this is
We
what I
are-
have issue. You seems to still exempt the president from this thing. So the president wasn't knowing, he doesn't know what was happening. Is that the case?
Because the
And you want to put it to the
president don't know
advisor?
about- no president in the world would know about every single appointment in government. Some of them can be done by lower
So that was a
level
preempted
officials.
decision
Some of
the
them-
president made. Is that what you're talking about?
I'm
It's
just
almost
saying,
like
this
George
one, the
Bush and I
president-
guess that there was a WND in Iraq
this one-
and launched a war.
No, Mr. Sue, this one, the president is aware of this one. It's a high profile. This is we're talking about election matter here. Look, this is why country can go to war. This is why bad stuff can happen. We're talking about somebody who will sit down in our election house. Somebody who will have the last say. Why if look, this is why I'm afraid of as well. I'm also afraid of. Why if Wama Dike, who have a huge compound in Nigeria, businesses who got his whole generation in Nigeria, take a flight and go to Nigeria and say, okay, yeah, Alexander Cummings is the winner. Because Nigerian men can they have money business. I'm just saying something.
Why when he says Joy Weah is re-elected?
As we are fighting, no, listen, look, these people, look, it's a soup. I cannot sugarcoat it. When it comes with Nigerian men, and look, America didn't care about Nigerian people. When it comes to, look, the people are slick, the people are smart, they are one of the smartest people in the world. Look, the country we live in, America, is afraid of Nigerian people, all right? Because they have so many techniques, so many, look, these guys are hustlers and movers. Look, why if Wabudike go and take $5 to $20 million from somebody and go to Nigeria and say the winner of the election is this person? President White can be crying wherever. Nobody, look, Liberian can be fighting here. Wabudike is gone. I'm saying that this was a problem candidate. He was tinted.
Okay.
Massively. Look, I don't know how
All
the
right.
government. Look,
We'll soon be wrapping
the
up.
government cannot escape from this. They cannot escape from this. They cannot wash their hand off. Look, you guys, the country, everybody is coming down on or claiming or coming down hard on us is because of the advisors. Those who say they vetted this guy, they all lying. People should be suspended. People should be terminated, and criminal action should be on its way.
Do you have some names of those people that you think should be terminated? Do you know some? Can you throw out some names?
I'm just saying the advisors. Usually, they charge bribe.
Legal advice. Actually, Mr. Let me just ask you. You've been knowing Bernard here. Is he a legal man to serve as a legal advisor to the sitting president of the Republic of Liberia? That I don't know.
No, so I actually did go to law school. He graduated at law school.
No.
That's the extent of his legal abilities that I know. So yes, he did go to law school. Now, did he practice in Liberia? Did he serve in any judicial capacity? I don't know. I don't think so. But yeah,
do you think they were
did
involved?
graduate
Do you
from
think they were involved in these elections, or do you think they got their input, or maybe they did, and the president said, "Oh no, this is my guy," or a few close ally to the president and say, "You know what?" They took it behind closed door, and the president ultimately made his decision to put the name forward. Is that the case?
And that's the reason, precisely the reason why I'm not just blaming advisors. At the end of the day, the president pushed the clock. The president makes the decision. His advisors can tell him any and everything they want to tell him. If he refuses to listen, he refuses to listen. There's no law that requires the president to take the advice of his advisors. That's the first thing. Second thing, to speak directly to your question, my knowledge of government is that somebody of that nature and of that caliber, the legal advisors should be involved in the process of vetting the person, especially when it has to do with citizenship, when it has to do with the Elections Commission, which is the lifeblood of any democracy. All of those type of advisors, such as the president's lawyers, should be involved in the vetting process. Now, if the president refuses and says, "I'm not going to listen to you all, and I will go in and make the appointment," that has also happened, according, as far as I know. But then, let's even say that the president's advisors told him to do it, and he went by his advisor's advice. He's also responsible. He appointed those advisors. Whatever to do is on him.
If it comes up tomorrow, yesterday we were saying the Ellen Sally government is so corrupt, Ellen corrupt, Ellen corrupt. It wasn't Ellen going around to the Freeport and stealing all the money. It was people she appointed. If you appoint thieves and they steal the money, you are held accountable.
Right.
Our leaders must get that clear. That's the fact.
Okay, we're going to leave it there, Mr. Don't go away. You're going to wrap it up. Let me go to my folks. But before that, there's a last caller yet, 301 number. Thank you so much for being patient. Let me just come to you to make your contribution and also your closing statement. Is better late than never. 301-2160. Good afternoon.
Yes,
What's your
sir.
name and where
Yes,
you're calling
sir.
from?
Yeah, Mr. Zoe.
Yeah.
How you doing, sir?
Good. How are you? What's your name?
Yeah.
Where are you calling from?
I'm all right. Yes, sir. This issue, listen to both sides, those who are for and those who are against. But one thing that we Liberians we should have in mind is that there are certain things that we have to take out of politics when it comes to for the betterment of the country. So the issue, only one of, I think your first guest is the one, brother. He the one to light on the process. I think, the reason why we have constitution in every country is because that's the blueprint that set up the rules for the nation. Okay. And now if you look at our constitution, it says that, there are only two ways that you can become citizen of Liberia, either by birth or by naturalization. And then you have three branches of government, which are co-equal branch of government, but have a different function. Now, when we talk about the legislative branch, they make the law. And immigration, the Bureau of Immigration are established in order to take care of some of this area, most especially when it comes to, the law that will govern, and say immigration in the country. So this issue that on the ground, the men presented, because yesterday I listened and I watched the whole thing. He presented a copy of so-called, certificate of naturalization. And when the question was posed to him, in fact, the senator who was looking at the document, he could not even, clearly read what was on the document.
It's not legible. I tried to figure out. I can't even look at anything correct.
Then he made a comment because I was listening. He said, look, even I can read without glasses. I still put my glasses on. I can't even get exactly what on the document. Where is the original of the document? Then he said, I don't have it with him. So the man asked him a question saying that, the issue is not an easy issue. You know what, on the ground. Why you didn't bring the document? He forgot, as you rightly said, But then, in the light of all this thing, somebody quote on your show saying that, fraud is a wrongful and criminal deception intended to result in a financial or personal gain. This case goes beyond, as I look at it I'm not a lawyer, but as I look at it, it goes beyond fraud. Because if the intention was to get a financial gain, he has already achieved that. And then you have to go into financial, investigation, which will be, financial fraud.
All right. Time catch up with me here. We're gonna
thank you for the time, Mr. Ozino.
Yeah, time catch up with me. Believe me, we're gonna have this talking point here for the rest of the week and beyond that. Thank you so much. Okay, let me go to Mr. Just hang in there. You're gonna wrap it up before I sign off here this evening. 484-8224. Mr. Kwai, are you there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, as a Liberian, what could be? We have discussed all of the problems, potential problems surrounding making all of the guests gain. Let us put forward a solution. As a Liberian, if the President of the Republic of Liberia were listening to you today, you as a Liberian, what will you be saying to him? What will you put forward? Because the ultimate decisions is within the executive. What should he be doing by this time?
And I said it in my opening statement. The president appoints somebody. If the citizens, all of us having concern, he can withdraw the nominee on the basis that he's not abreast of what is unfolding.
Are you calling on him to withdraw the nominee, or he should? Which one? What I'm trying to.
I'm calling the president to withdraw the nomination,
Okay.
and it happens every day because the president cannot go. You get citizenship once it, and as people are suggesting, I don't think that's the role of the president. This man being the bar, he being the place there. The president appointing when they found out, so I'm going to withdraw you. We'll put some qualified Liberian there. That's what I would do.
Additionally, you should take responsibility, correct?
The president is very responsible. I don't
No,
think,
what I'm saying, he should take responsibility of what has happened.
The responsibility is to withdraw the person. He has, I mean,
Of the withdrawing the person not to it, the harm that is being caused is from the executive branch of government. We must acknowledge that. Well, I make a poor judgment. We can say because he went through all the other things, he had a free pass. So
I've seen it before. I have not seen it before. The president of the United States, George Bush, appointed people. They don't want him. The other state, they withdraw them. It had no burden on the president. That's why I keep telling you, listening public, this is what they feel. The president has the right to this man being in Liberia in the time you were born, maybe he ain't open or almost equal. Then you want him, and he had all the position prior to him. And if the president found an expedient, he can appoint him. If the need arises, he can re-nominate people. That's what I'm saying. But for you to say the president should what to do the one to do the investigation.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I said the president should take responsibility. The thing about it here, what you are saying, and I like to get my audience crystal clear. In as much whether he was minister in Helen Johnson government, the ignorance of the law is no excuse. So you are instead of telling me or what you are saying now, okay, yes, what has happened now? So the crime he committed before because we did not realize, we did not see that crime. He has committed a crime now. We should not prosecute him. All right, thank you very much. I just like to go beyond the borderline to get my message and I get the audience. Thank you. So George Lobota, welcome. Be better late than never, but you are late. Okay, Mr. Quay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, Mr. Dwayne. Kevin, are you there? Kevin, are you there? Folks, I'm not taking call again.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm here.
Okay, airplane can blow home. I thought maybe you're going for your own confirmation. We hear your knee. So I was asking Mr. Quay here because this is a very volatile issue and we must discuss it and be honest. And I think these lawmakers too, and I would like Mr. Nyenuh to respond to that because there was some signal. And I talked to one or two persons too. The Nigerian community did cry foul about this guy role within the Nigerian community. And I doubt whether the lawmakers, in order to substantiate their evidence or build their case, to see whether this guy was even competent, he has the moral rectitude to occupy this position. I didn't see any of them illustrating something like here in the case, right? Sometimes you will see the lawmakers there, they will illustrate, this is what we have. Can you address yourself to this? I didn't see anything besides an asking question. Whether they call them behind the scene and they talk to them, or whether they have any documentation, we yet to see that within the immediate outlet. Okay, folks, let me just see you. Hold on 1 second. I'm getting a call from Liberia here from our correspondent. Let's see whether there's any new update. Hello, Magda. Are you there?
Hello?
Yeah, Mike. Are you there? We're hearing you.
Yes, I'm here, Mr. So how are you?
Good. How are you doing? How is Morovia today?
Well, Morovia is fine. Morovia is quiet as usual.
Mm-hmm.
People are here going about their normal businesses.
Okay. So you were just telling us that the confirmation has been postponed, correct? Any reason?
Yes. The next chairman destinate confirmation hearing was today postponed. According to the Senate Committee on Elections, according to them, they have some pending meetings with political parties' leader. So this is why the confirmation hearing did not go on as was planned. Also, they said that there were some documents that were needed from the nominee that was not available. So for that, they did not continue with the confirmation hearing of the Nigerian-born Liberian naturalized citizen who his confirmation has created so much dark clouds over the government of President George Weah.
When you say document, what specific document were they pointing to?
Well, for example, they are talking. They are saying that the naturalization document for Mr. Onobuki is not correct. According to him, he was born 1964 and he got naturalized in 1982. And there have been some constitutional breaches, according to legal luminaries, including Councillor Vanny Sherman, who is the Senate chair on judiciary, who been saying that if at all the net boss destiny was naturalized at the age of 17, it means he has violated the Constitution of Liberia also. So as such, he cannot be considered to be Liberian citizen.
I believe they are hair spinning right now within the National Bar Associations in Liberia. Any statement coming from the National Bar Association so far?
Well, so far we haven't heard any statement from the Bar Association, though this fellow has served as a member. He has served previously as an official on the Bar Association in the early 2000s, but according to him, he went through those different tests, and before going through the national bar test, and then he was conferred counselor at law. So as such, at this time, being nominated as the chair of the National Elections Commission, there's no one should be questioning his nationality at this time.
Do we see, considering what we see happening here, and I just had to do that to get ahead of this game here, do we see potential criminal charges being brought against this nominee if he's rejected?
Well, this is what some people are projecting. People are saying that this man, how did he get the naturalization document? People are saying that if at all they found out that this document was not obtained by him legally, he could just be charged for forgery.
Will we see more hair spinning from the Bar Association, from past government to get us to reach where we are? What are you hearing with inside the world of the CDC-led government or from the executive branch? Is the president, anybody closer to the president, are they saying anything so far?
Yes, definitely. There are some, though not too close to the presidency, who have been calling on the president to withdraw the nomination of the nominee. Because, for example, Sano County District 2 representative or how do we call it, Nangoslo has protested that President Weah withdraw the nomination of Councillor Udebuki because he is not a Liberian. In fact, that could be one of the biggest mistakes that his administration will ever make. So as such, he was appealing, he was on the radio, just added late last week, that President Weah to withdraw the nomination of the individual in question. Because according to him, why is it that this individual, in less than 2 years, President Weah has nominated him to 3 different positions. In some of those places, he haven't spent even a year or even more than 6 months there. So it means something has gone wrong with him.
Do you know whether the Senate some Nigerian community, we are hearing some Nigerian folks as crowdfile in this nominee? There's gathered any information or evidence that we yet to see so far for which this process has been suspended, and in such of a conversation in the quarters in Liberia or Monrovia, if you will?
Well, definitely not yet, because the confirmation hearing today was postponed just based on that, because the Senate Committee on Election and Judiciary has said that they have to hang heads with some opposition parties. So this is what they are doing. Their postponement today was not based on some charges against the Councillor of Destiny.
Any blame game so far from the executive branch of government as to how this name came about and who didn't do their job, who didn't do the vetting process for this name to surface to appear on the confirmation floor?
Well, not yet. There have been some inside noise coming, one may consider to be noise coming out that the recommendation by some partisan of the CDC for President Weah to nominate a Nigerian-born Liberian, that was quite wrong advice they gave him. So as such, that decision might just tainted the character of the party. So they are seriously considering it. Some of them, according to what we've been hearing, are in a caucus to see how best this issue can be handled. But from all indications, it seems to me that this councillor will be nominated because of what.
Yeah, go ahead. Are you saying?
Hello?
Are you saying his confirmation
Yes.
will be confirmed? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, from so many political pundits we've been speaking with, they are saying that from all indications, this councillor might just be confirmed by the Liberian Senate because the way they are seeing things, the president who nominated him has serious interest in him.
Wow. All right. Well, okay. Well, Mike, we will keep following that. I know one of the things that have not surfaced, one of the nominees, we are hearing, I was told this morning that he's actually from Sino County, but that has not really come out within the public domain. So if that is the case, if that proven to be right, like we are hearing, the town he from, people that he are connected with, multiple people have told us this story and saying that he's from Bombing, that's a perjury. Is that conversation in the streets of Liberia or Monrovia? Science.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. There have been some conversation that from some of his statements at the Senate yesterday was that his parents came here since the 1960, and his father grew up here, went to school here. So he also did the same. His parents are from Bombing County, according to some of the statements that he gave the Senate.
All right. Okay. All right, that's our own LPR Mike down. Mike, thank you. We keep monitoring this here. It seems to be an endless story. We will keep having this conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. That's our own Mike down there. Folks, I'm sorry that you guys couldn't hear because he calls on a different device here. I'm going to be wrapping up. Okay, Mr. Kevin, go ahead quickly. Then I will go to go to my guest to wrap it up. I'm not sure. I know you guys didn't hear it because you were calling on a different device. I couldn't.
And I'm breaking news. Is he in handcuffs yet?
It is the Ministry of Justice. If that happens, they will be the people to confirm that. What we just know now that the process has been suspended, and the committee asking for more documentation. So it's anybody gains. You never know politicians, their decisions, and how they go about to take decisions. So it is why it is. Okay, Mr. Dewey, go ahead quickly before I go to Christopher and then my guest. Rob, make your final statement.
I only hope that this particular hearing do not gain so much prominence or publicity because Wamuduki is a quote-unquote non-Liberian who is trying to navigate the system or say bulldoze the system. I hope that it should work for all other nominees coming through the process.
Okay.
Because even the previous government of Mrs. Salif did a lot of bypassing of the system to get her nominees through. And we understand that the legislature has been a little bit gullible in this process.
Okay, we're going to leave it at 30 seconds. You want to wrap it up for me?
Yes. So we should be.
What's your recommendation to national government or to the president specifically? The ball is in his court.
A recommendation to the national government is that we should be able to make sure we vet all candidates very thoroughly, regardless of who they are, whether they are non-Liberian coming into the system or they are Liberians trying to vie for.
No, that is a commentary after the match. We are talking about what the game is ongoing now. What should the president do at this point in time, considering what is all unfolding?
The president should do the honorable thing. Withdraw the candidate.
Withdraw the candidate. All right. Thank you so much. That's my own man, Kevin Dewey from the Bay State. My man, take it easy. It's too much around our area, so stay safe, my dear brother. All right. Okay, Christopher Tobasi, quickly here, 1 minute, wrap it up here. What's the take-home message?
Honorable Sue, based on what we know now, based on Wabudike criminality, perjury, massive nationalization fraud, scheme.
Do you have all of the evidence now? Do you have all of the evidence?
No, but Mr. Sue, based on what we know now, that's what I'm saying. Based on what we know.
So I guess if you are Patrick Suru, then by this time you have arrested Councilor Baboduke.
By this time, yes, by this time. Look, no, if our laws are violated, look, Patrick Suru, sometime I can say, yeah, Mr. Suru, I think I'll probably go do my internship in Liberia. I just gotta do this. Because, Mr. Sue, sometimes some of the things, you cannot wait for the president to indict somebody that violated a law. You cannot wait for the president to tell you who did what on the street. You cannot. That's why you went to school. That's why you are trained law enforcement. That's why you went to Zion University. Okay. Why must you wait for the president to tell you when to enforce a criminal law?
All right. Thank you so much, my man.
I want to say thank you for the opportunity. Thank you to our guests. Yeah. And I think that based on everything today, the president should withdraw Wabudike, the Nigerian, as soon as possible, as quickly as possible. Thank you.
All right. Wow. Christopher Wuloti Tobasi, breaking wing with his party, putting national interest first. And I hope some other seditions will think in that direction for the good of the country. So, Mr. Nyenuh.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is amazing. How can you conclude such a sort of a discussion like this? It's in your hands.
It's really amazing. But somebody who came on earlier said sometimes these things happen to expose the system, to open the door wide so that things that have been happening in the dark come to light. And I think this is an opportunity for us to really look at the system and correct it. As other people have said, as I've said before, and other people have said, we should look at the entire system from the Bar Association to the Supreme Court that almost had this person working as in the Supreme Court to the court. I want to encourage journalists to do due diligence, to do investigation. Go to the court, the criminal court B, where this man, naturalizations are supposed to take place, and where this man said he naturalized. And dig out the documents, talk to people, ask the Bar Association what citizenship documents this man presented to them.
They need to go out in the Nigerian community to get more information. Perhaps they will get a lot of stuff.
There's a lot of information out there because the Nigeria Union and this man reportedly went to court, up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court suspended the Nigeria Union on his writ of prohibition. So people should go and talk to them. They should talk to this gentleman, I forget his name, but who actually did a video because he did a media interview on how this guy tried to dupe him of a vessel, and as a consequence, a lot of the seafarers, who were on that vessel, one of them died, all of them scattered, and they're basically just running around Monrovia trying to find food to eat because Wabudike allegedly tried to dupe them. There's a lot of information, and that's why I said earlier I would have loved this whole discussion to be on Wabudike's character instead of his citizenship. Unfortunately, he brought a fraudulent citizenship equation into the process, which also goes to his character. Now,
exactly.
I think the president politically would do himself a favor if he were to immediately withdraw his nomination and say, I did not know, this is a distraction, I'm withdrawing nomination. That doesn't absolve him of any responsibility, but that would be a good political move. I think Councilor Wabudike himself should save the country from all of this headache and embarrassment, especially in the midst of our fight against this global pandemic called coronavirus. we shouldn't be focusing on his nomination right now. He should do himself and the country a favor by withdrawing his nomination. And as I said earlier, I would
voluntarily.
encourage everybody voluntarily. And I think that the Senate should not even be postponing and looking for more documents and whatever. The Senate should deny him and institute investigations. The Sergeant at Arms, authorize the Sergeant at Arms, authorize the legal team of the Senate to begin investigations towards prosecuting this man and everybody who's been involved in the fraud. Allied fraud.
Okay, well, that does is this afternoon. Time check here in the East Coast is 2:15. Mr. Nyenuh, I want to thank you so much for tapping in, showing all here, tapping into your expertise to discuss such a national and critical issue. This is what we love doing here. We keep the civility in place in terms of having the discussions. And so far, to even our onliners tweeting, we say thank you for joining us here. We will continue to have this sort of discussion going, and we hope the law will take a course not to do anything outside the laws of the land. So, thank you so much, and I hope to talk to you again in a not too near future. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thanks.
All right, folks, every good thing might come to an end. Alphonso Nyenuh, a long-term advocate, formerly with the Cali Justice and Peace Commission, JPC in Liberia, is currently in the USA, joining me this afternoon from Philadelphia here. And to all my callers and onliners, far and near, whatever you are, we say thank you for being part of this conversation. If you are in the USA, in Europe, and any part of this world, which of course this coronavirus is taking hold, please put safety measures in place. If you have not bought a glove, just yesterday, and I always repeatedly go this over and over, I just got information from Connecticut. Somebody got infected just from gas station, filling station, because people just overload things. Get a glove. Keep it in your compartment. Anytime you're doing anything, do not use your bare hands. This disease is dangerous. It is deadly. In fact, I had a video, but I didn't load it. Be careful with your mail. There's a video in circulation to UPS. The guy was spitting on the mail. You don't know. People doing all kinds of crazy things. Spray it. Get something to disinfect. Please do not use your bare hand. Don't trust the situation. No one is trusted. Not even me. Everybody now going airborne and using foot and feet. I want to thank you so much for being part of this program here. But before we go, the Vice President of the Republic of Liberia, Her Excellency Chief Dr. Joel Howard Taylor, is also now in the news, is speaking out or addressing in a special commercial. We were to have the communication officer to the Vice President, but we got caught up against time, so we could not do that. But let me give you this video, and that's the end of this evening. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Reported thousands and hundreds of cases are being reported everywhere. So Mama Joel wants you to apply these measures. She wants you to have this bucket you see here, and you fill it up with water. That is, if you don't have these items on this table, then you can use your soap. You don't just have to use the water alone, plain like that. If you don't have this item, use soap always to wash your hands. And I'm going to display just a simple household mentor so that you can stay safe all of the time from this coronavirus. First of all, you get your bowl of water. Let's just say I'm coming from out. I will not enter my house till I wash my hands. Now everybody have to stay safe. So you open this bucket and then have a pinch of water and pour it on the pipe. And then you open the pipe just a little so that the water won't flow, because if you just continue flowing the water with the pipe open wide, your water might finish earlier. So now look at how I'm washing my hands. You wash your hands like this, like this, like this, all between your fingers, and then you make sure you do like this so that all the dirt comes out from under your fingernails. like this too. And then before you close it, you do like this to close it tightly. You are safe. So that's not just all. I also have this paper web. It is disinfecting paper webs. Clorox disinfecting paper webs. I will take up one to see after washing my hands. This is what I'm going to apply. I'm going to do this because this has Clorox. It has detergent, disinfecting detergents, everything in it. And then you do like this. Always when you are wiping your hands, even if you finish washing your hands with the water, you apply the same method like this. After wiping your hands, you use the sanitizer. It's like this. Same old method.